In 1936, one explorer set out to find a hidden passage through Kangchenjunga's icy fortress, where maps failed, storms ruled, and the truth of the Zemu Gap lay buried in snow and silence.
It's 2:20 a.m. I'm still buried in the Himalayan Club Journals, century-old field notes from the Himalayas. It's like diving deep into the documented history of the Himalayas from the early 1900s. The journals cover everything, from indigenous wisdom, cultural myths, to epic expeditions and groundbreaking discoveries. These forgotten stories are brought to life by synthetic voices in the Himalayan Journals podcast. Subscribe, zone out, binge, and pass it to a fellow mountain junkie.
High in the Himalaya, in the spring of 1936, H.W. Tilman found himself in Darjeeling with unexpected time to spare. With him were 4 Sherpas, 2 experienced men, Pasang Kikule and Pasang Futa, and 2 novices, Nuri and Tilly, whom he wished to test before an attempt on Nanda Devi later that year. His plan was bold, to cross the Zemu Gap from the south, a pass recorded at 19,276 feet. An article by Captain Boomstead, which Tilman had come across by chance in the Geographical Journal, suggested that the route, though rough, was possible. Boomstead had traversed from the Gichala to the Zemu Glacier a decade earlier. Tilman, cautious by nature, studied photographs and maps and decided to make his attempt. The small party left on the 1st of May, choosing the valley route to the Gichala so that food could be obtained in villages along the way. It meant carrying less, though it also demanded a punishing first day. With 2 ponies hired to help, they marched from 8 in the morning until nearly 5 in the evening before halting at Chakung. By the 9th of May, the base of the Gichala was reached, and with them they carried provisions for 3 weeks. That afternoon, Tilman himself went ahead to the pass to examine the way, reaching the top just before the mist. The saddle between the Talung and Tongshong glaciers looked manageable, but the Zemu Gap, even at that distance, stirred unease. The next day they crossed the Gichala in thick weather, with snow falling heavily on the descent. Thanks to a compass bearing taken beforehand, they reached the Talung side safely. From there, they crossed a terrace, climbed steep moraine, and camped above the glacier. A herd of Barrel, the blue sheep of the Himalaya, was spotted nearby. The Tongshong Glacier appeared broad and open without much threat of avalanches. Still, the real challenge lay ahead. On the morning of the 11th, they climbed to a saddle in deep snow, descended onto the Tongshong Glacier, and pressed on toward the tributary leading to the Zemu Gap. Snow fell again as they crossed the half-mile-wide glacier. The first icefall above them was steep and treacherous. They avoided its slabs of ice by turning to the rocks, though these proved little better. Camp was made at nearly 18,000 feet. Snow fell all night, freezing onto the tents. Tilman went forward alone the next morning, reconnoitering through a second icefall until a great crevasse halted him. Later, roped together, the party crossed and camped at the foot of the final and steepest barrier. Here, avalanches hissed down the Zemu slope, stopping just short of the tents. Each roar sent Sherpas leaping from their shelter in fear. Tilman, too, was shaken, recalling the nerves of soldiers listening for shells. That afternoon, he tested the icefall, climbing 100 feet before reaching a frail snow bridge over a crevasse and an ice wall beyond that looked nearly unclimbable. The next morning, with Pasang's help, they hacked a staircase into a 30-foot wall of hard ice, laboring for 2 hours. They crossed a perilous bridge and gained a higher plateau. From there, the final obstacle loomed, a sheer wall of ice at least 100 feet high. Tilman judged it might be possible, given a strong team and more time, but for their small and tired party, it was beyond reach. He and Pasang turned back. The descent was tense but swift. They roped down from rocks onto the glacier and pitched camp once more. Tilman still wondered if Boomstead, in poor weather 10 years earlier, had mistaken a different coal for the Zemu Gap. For now, there was no other visible break in Kangchenjunga's southeast ridge. On the 14th of May, the weather cleared, and the party enjoyed a smooth walk down the Tongshong Glacier, its rough surface hidden beneath a frozen sheet of snow. They followed the streams down to the Tista Valley. The next days were a trial through dense forests, steep moraines, swarms of leeches and midges, and repeated searches for fragile bridges across the river. Deadfall snares and hunters' paths showed that the forest was not entirely untraveled. Progress was slow, often no more than a mile in a day. At last, on the 17th, they reached Sakyong, the first village. From there, poor paths led them through cardamom fields and scattered settlements. On the 19th of May, after weeks among ice, rock, and jungle, the expedition reached Mangan in the Tista Valley. Tilman's attempt on the Zemu Gap had ended in retreat, but the journey left him with a sharper knowledge of the land and with Sherpas now tested for the greater climb that lay ahead.